Okay, welcome back to the Mix Show, everybody. If you want, phone lines will be open, during our interview with Joe Kittinger. It's local 941-745-1490. Yeah, that too.
Yeah, what the heck?
So, I don't know what that's about.
Two ringy dingies. How do we make it stop making that noise?
Machine.
Yeah, how do we make that stop? That is ridiculous.
Pick it up and hang
We're
up.
just gonna, yeah.
That
that's
never
exactly
happens.
what you do. Pick it up and hang up.
No, because then they'll just call back.
Just pick it up, leave it off the hook. We
yeah.
got business to attend to.
Yeah, we got serious business to attend to. Let me go
Very
ahead
serious.
and pod down this hippie music
Yeah.
because it does not
You're
jive.
you're getting this off on the wrong foot
I
already.
know. This is
You should
not
be
going to
playing
work.
like Halls of Montezuma or something.
Joe Kittinger, on August 16th, 1960, was in a test mission in a capsule or gondola.
It wasn't a balloon?
It's a balloon. A
Well,
balloon has hoisted it.
Yes,
Okay.
the gondola is the name of the. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Excelsior 3, and Joe ascended to 102,800 feet in a high-altitude balloon and then jumped. Protected only by a pressure suit and helmet, he rushed through the skies, hitting the lower atmosphere at several hundred miles per hour before parachuting safely to Earth. This feat, still unmatched today, set 4 records and established that it could be possible for humans to survive in space. But you would think he would rest on his laurels. No way. Joe, a pilot, also volunteered for 3 tours of duty in Vietnam, where he was a squadron commander, shot down a MiG-21 in aerial combat, and spent 11 months as a POW.
Wow.
Now, you would say, okay, that's enough, time to retire.
He
But unlike Douglas MacArthur, who said old soldiers never die, they just fade away, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding
It's a
me.
conspiracy.
That didn't work.
I know.
Lily Tomlin on line 2.
Pick it up and say, hey, we're doing a radio
So
show.
anyways, unlike Douglas MacArthur, who said that old soldiers never die, they just fade away, Joe, in his civilian career, set a record for the longest distance flown in a 1,000 cubic meter helium balloon. He went 2,000 miles. Became the first person to fly solo across the Atlantic in a helium balloon, and won the Gordon Bennett balloon race 4 times. Among his honors, 2 Silver Stars, 5 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 2 Purple Hearts, 2 Bronze Stars with V device for valor in combat, 24 Air Medals. President Eisenhower awarded him the Harmon Trophy for outstanding accomplishments in aeronautics. The pilot was named a National Aeronautics Association Elder Statesman of Aviation. He was awarded a Lifetime Achievement in Aviation trophy from the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, and was made an honorary U.S. Army Golden Knight, and is enshrined with highest honor in the National Aviation Hall of Fame, as well as the U.S. Ballooning Hall of Fame and the National Skydiving Museum Hall of Fame. And he also published a book in 2010 called Come Up and Get Me. It's his autobiography, can be found on Amazon.com. And in 2010, he won Book of the Year Award, which silver, second place winner for autobiography/memoir category. So he wrote a best-selling book as well. And he's still out there doing it, working with Red Bull, with the Red Bull Stratos Project, and we'll get into that as well. Joe Kittinger, welcome to the Mix Show. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Okay, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
And so let's just start with 1960. You were already a pilot. You were already a decorated pilot, correct?
Yes. Well, 1960 was the year that I made my jump from 102,800 feet. It was an Air Force research program that had 2 objectives. The first objective was to put a man into space, because no one had ever been into space at that time. That was before the space program really started. And the other objective was to come up with an escape system that would take care of pilots and astronauts at very high altitudes. And my jump from 102,800 feet accomplished both of those objectives, and it's a record now that stood for some 52 years. And it'll probably be broken this year by Felix Baumgartner on the Stratos program. But it was an interesting program that we had, Mick, and the great thing about it is that today, still today, every Air Force in the whole world uses a small drogue chute for stabilization at high altitudes, and that's what we developed back in 1959, 1960. So the work that we did back there is still being utilized today. So it makes us very proud of the contribution that we made on our program that we had.
What is the drogue chute? What purpose does that serve?
Well, it's a small 5-foot diameter chute that gives just enough drag to give you stability.
Okay.
And they use that on all the ejection seats in the whole world. As soon as the ejection seat comes out of the aircraft, this small drogue chute comes out to stabilize the ejection seat down to a lower altitude.
So how is this presented to you? Your commanding officer or someone taps you on the shoulder and says, Joe, we've got a plan. We got this idea. We have this gondola. We're going to attach a balloon to it, and we want to see just how high up in the air you can go.
No, actually, the way it happened is I was a project engineer, and I was a project officer, and I picked myself to do it.
Hey, that's how you get done. There might be some glory in that.
There you go. So, and if we've seen the footage, if anybody goes to YouTube and just types in Joe Kittinger, you're going to see the actual footage of Joe. Do you call it a capsule or a gondola? Because you weren't encapsulated. It was an open door.
Well, we call it a gondola. But what Felix is using is a capsule because it's pressurized.
Right, and yours wasn't. Yours had an open door. As you're going up, and in terms of feet and space, we're looking at close to 20 miles up in the air, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you're in a balloon. The balloon is hoisting this open gondola. There's no window. It's just you're looking out. That's it. And you're 20 miles up in the air, in the atmosphere, and all you had was the pressurized suit.
Yes, that's correct.
And at
Felix has a pressurized suit, but he's not using it until we depressurize the capsule just before he gets ready to jump. So there's been a lot of improvements made in 52 years, Mick. You'd have to imagine that. There's been a lot of improvements made in pressure suits and the life support systems and so forth. 52 years was a long time ago.
Well, but and nobody's doing what you're doing except for this guy Felix Baumgartner. So you held the record. Just the footage is just astounding. Just you falling to Earth, yeah, and you were in space, weren't you?
Yes, it is space.
Yeah, I mean you were above Earth's atmosphere, and describe what it felt like or what you sensed as soon as you jumped out of the capsule.
Well, you have to realize that when you jump out of a balloon, you have zero velocity. So you accelerate at 32 feet per second. So you fall for about 16, 17 seconds before you reach terminal velocity. So you're in a weight assist condition as you free fall until you get terminal velocity. And the maximum speed I reached was 614 miles an hour at about 90,000 feet, and from then on, I slowed down all the way until the parachute opened at about 14,000 feet. But the free fall took 4 minutes and 36 seconds.
Wow.
And Felix, when he makes his jump, he's going to be jumping from 120,000 feet instead of 102,000 like I was. And he'll be going supersonic probably at about 103,000 feet. So he's going to be going faster. He's going to fall longer than I did on his jump.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when you jumped out of the capsule, initially you don't hear or feel anything as far as wind or anything like that. It was just silence.
That's true. That's exactly right. And as you keep falling, then you get more and more velocity until you reach terminal velocity.
And it wasn't until you started to re-enter the atmosphere that you started to feel the wind hitting your suit and hitting your helmet and things like that. That's when you started feeling the effects. But initially jumping out, it was just silence.
Yes. And of course, the other thing is there's nothing there to tell you how fast you're going. There's nothing. The way that you determine velocity is a visual acuity, but there's nothing up there. You're in a complete vacuum, and you have the only way to know that you're falling is the altimeter and the stopwatch that you have on there, because you have no way of really discerning that the Earth is coming up because it's so far away.
And did you encounter any problems with your suit?
Well, yes. On the way up, I had a glove that didn't work, so my hand was exposed to the vacuum of space, and it swelled up about twice its normal size, and I couldn't use it. But once I got back down to the ground after a couple hours, it was okay. the pressure suit worked good, but the glove, my right glove, did not. But that was the only equipment problem that I had.
And so instead of aborting the mission, you just said, all right, I'll deal with it when I get to Earth. Let me just go ahead and get up to where I need to get up to.
Well, I didn't tell the people on the ground that I had the problem, because if I'd have told them, they would have made me abort the flight. And I was concerned that I might not be able to get another opportunity to do it. So I made the decision not to tell anybody about it. Just go ahead and do the job without using my right hand.
Now, is that the hand that you would need to pull your parachute, or?
Yes, but we had it rigged up where I could use either hand to open the parachute.
Okay. I have a question for you. Now, I know that you're a pilot, so you'll probably know this. When did Chuck Yeager break the sound barrier?
I think it was about 1957. I'm 47.
So it had been done, but you did it without a plane, didn't you?
I came close to it, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
I just assumed that you must have been traveling faster than the speed of sound, falling from 102,000 feet.
I was going pretty fast.
What was the highest you had ever flown in an airline, in a plane?
Well, I was an experimental test pilot, and the highest I'd ever flown had been about 58,000 feet in an airplane. So I was quite a bit higher than that with the balloon.
Yeah, so you've already achieved a certain level of altitude. So when they proposed this mission, you were like, sure, why not? Let's just go higher. I mean, Joe, you have to understand, you're talking to a guy who cries every time he drives over the Skyway Bridge to come to the radio station, okay? So, I'm living vicariously through you, okay? This is no joke. I'm white-knuckled every Wednesday night when I come to the station.
Well, I was trained, and, I was motivated. I was trained, and I was prepared to do it. Whereas you aren't trained to do it.
Yeah, you're right. He's not trained to drive at all.
Yeah.
Last week, Mick told us he wet his pants going up in an elevator. So
yeah,
I mean,
it's not good, Joe. It's just not good for me.
I don't think you should do any altitude jumps then.
No. No. I wish I could, but and so your career doesn't really stop there. When I'm reading about you also volunteering for these missions in Vietnam.
Yes, I had 3 tours in Vietnam. I went over there in 63, 64, and then 66, 67, and then 71, 72. And in 1971, I was a squadron commander of the Triple Nickel, which was the most famous F-4 squadron there was in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Our squadron shot down more MiGs than any other squadron that there was over there. And, in fact, I shot a MiG down on the 1st of March, and then on the 10th of May, I got shot down. And I spent 11 months in Hanoi as a POW.
Now, was this actually at what was termed or dubbed the Hanoi Hilton, the prison camp?
Exactly. That's where I was, Hanoi Hilton. And it really was a crummy Hilton, by the way.
No mints on your pillow? They didn't turn down anything for you?
Well, no air conditioning, surly waiters. The wine list was terrible.
Well, were you captured? Were you incarcerated at the same time as John McCain? Is that just an urban legend?
No. He had been there about 3.5 years when I got there.
Okay.
I talked with him several times. We were both in the Hilton. as a
Okay.
matter of fact.
Okay. And I mean, we read about it. We've seen Hollywood productions about this particular part of the Vietnam era. What exactly did you go through as a prisoner of war? What kind of did they torture you? I mean, what was happening?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did not comply with the Geneva Convention. I was really badly injured. I got hit by shrapnel before I bailed out, and I had a really bad leg injury, and they gave me no medical attention. I came very close to losing my leg because of that, but they were very cruel. They did not comply with the normal Geneva Convention rules, but we survived. Of course, they torture a lot of people, and there was people killed as a result of the torture that they incurred. But we were prepared. We had been well trained and had a pretty good idea what was going to happen to us when we became POWs. And you got to remember this: that for every POW there was 10 guys that didn't get there.
That's true.
Right.
That is true.
So we were lucky that we were still alive when we got there, of course.
So it was 11 months. I don't know. I can't fathom it. Again, I've seen things in the movies and whatnot, but it's to talk to somebody who was actually there and actually went through it and survived is great. I mean, I just to hear that I'm trying to. It's his outlook. You didn't come back angry. You didn't come back bitter. You didn't. I mean, what's your mindset?
Well, we came back. We were fortunate. I know we knew we were fortunate, and we were also coming back to the greatest country in the world. So it was the happiest day of all of our lives. I wrote a book called "Come Up and Get Me," Mick, and in that book I described how I get shot down in my incarceration in Hanoi. And I would suggest you read the book because it gives you a real good insight into what I went through during that incarceration.
Yes, my wife has already ordered it on Amazon, so we're going to get our copy, definitely.
Well, when you get it, send it to me, and I'll be happy to sign it for you, man.
Sure, yeah, by all means, I would appreciate that. Thank you. So you've had this amazing military career, and I don't know. I keep thinking that if Isaac Newton were still alive today, you would go up and kick him in the nuts. Because I think you spend more time. Joe, I think you spend more time in the air than you do on the planet Earth.
Well, I have 16,800 hours of flying time.
Wow. I rest my case.
So I confirm that gravity is a law.
Now, not just a theory.
I do have a question about gravity. At what height do you have to be? But when you jump out of the gondola or out of the capsule, as Mr. Baumgartner is going to do you just float away in the other direction? I mean, do they know this?
Well, you have to remember that our moon is in the gravity of the Earth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Our moon is in the gravity of the Earth. So you have to have velocity to escape out of the gravity of the Earth. And, for example, when the space shuttle is in orbit, it's doing 18,000 miles an hour in order to stay in the Earth orbit. And to get back down, they have to slow down. So remember, there's no gravity at the moon.
Okay.
Yeah, and so how were they able to recover the capsule?
That's a good question. After I jumped, we sent a radio command and cut the balloon away, and the capsule comes down on a parachute. And we use the same gondola each time.
The same one for each mission?
Well,
Yes.
it works.
Well,
Yes.
but doesn't it need to go to the body shop and get some, dings and dents? I mean, why not?
We've dusted off. We've dusted off. It landed in the desert, and we cleaned it up, and there wasn't much damage to it. it was no problem at all. We could prepare it in a day to get it ready to go again.
Wow.
Joe, I got a question for you, and I know this probably wasn't as big of an issue when you jumped, but with Felix jumping, with all the air traffic around the world, I mean, what goes into the planning to make sure that you're not going to jump right into the flight path of an incoming airline?
Well, that's a good question. Well, I'll tell you what, we have a FAA representative in our command center and where we have mission control, and that FAA person is coordinating with the centers that direct the aircraft. So they deconflict the airspace from the capsule down to the ground. So they keep it safe. We're not going to run into another airplane, but they're tracking the gondola and the capsule on radar. They know exactly where the capsule is. They know exactly the altitude. And then when we get ready to jump, they make certain there's no airplanes headed through the area. So it's very safe. There's no way that he could ever hit another airplane.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
because that wouldn't end well.
No, and I'm also, I don't know if we have all of this. I just think in my gut that you hold the record, because if we're now 2012 and we have all of this advanced technology to help Felix, I don't know. Is he really breaking the record?
Yeah, it's kind of like building the pyramids today.
Yeah, it's like Joe already did it.
Yeah.
Or catching 60 passes in the NFL in 1932.
It's like Joe's already done it, and he did it with less technology than what we're using today. A lot less.
Yeah.
In fact,
He's going to go 4
picked.
miles higher. He's going to go 4 miles higher than what I did, and he's going to be quite a bit higher than what I was. And records are meant to be broken.
Yeah.
And that's human nature. That's what makes our life interesting. And it's been that way since the beginning of mankind. I always want to go the highest, the fastest, the quickest, the highest pole vault. I mean, that's part of the human nature is to push the limits to set new records, and that's what Felix is going to do. Now, the other thing that's important about Felix's jump is the fact that he is test jumping the next generation of full pressure suits. So when he's testing that equipment in an actual space environment, and the next time that we have astronauts going into space, they're probably going to be using the pressure suit that Felix is testing on this jump. So he's making a significant scientific contribution for the future astronauts.
So, Joe, how long before you try to break Felix's record?
Yeah.
Well, about a month later.
Thursday.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. We need to keep the record here in America.
In a pair of jeans and a T-shirt.
Right. Well, Joe, didn't you launch your gondola off the back of a pickup truck?
Well, it wasn't a pickup truck. It was a 1.5-ton truck, but it was a truck.
It was a truck. It was the back of a truck. It's like load up the balloon,
Yeah,
jump in, Joe, and let's go.
Ours was a very unsophisticated system, but it worked.
It
was
worked.
Simple, and it worked.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the technology then that we have now, but we had a good, reliable system that worked 3 times. I made 3 jumps out of that capsule, and so it just depends on the engineering, depends on the approach, and I always figure the best way to do it is to keep it as simple as possible.
Where is the gondola now?
The gondola is in the Air Force Museum at Wright Field in Dayton, Ohio. I made 5 high-altitude balloon flights, and all 3 of the gondolas that I jumped out of are at the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton, Ohio.
Hey, Joe,
go ahead.
I was just going to ask, why do you think it took 50-plus years since you set this record in 1960 for anybody to go up there and attempt to break this record, or have other people tried and we just haven't heard about it?
It's not easy.
No, I mean, but is it a lack of will? Is it a just maybe nobody really been thinking about it kind of a thing, or is it? Well, or are there complications that maybe the average layman doesn't know about?
the last 52 years, I got hundreds of phone calls from people all over the world that wanted to beat my record.
Okay.
Every skydiver wants to break that record. And I got phone calls from all over the world asking me to help them. But I turned them down, and the reason was because they had no idea of the peril. They had no idea of the problems that they were facing, and I didn't want to be involved with anything if somebody might get killed.
Okay.
So I turned them down because I didn't want to get involved with something that might hurt somebody. So until Red Bull came along.
Yeah,
And
before
when
that...
Red Bull came along, they were willing to go along with the plan that I proposed to make certain that it was done safely. All the other people that wanted to do it were just going to take off and go straight up to 120,000 feet and jump. I didn't want to do it that way. The way I did it was I made 2 jumps, training jumps, before I made the high one. And I felt that was a safe way to do it. So I proposed that to Red Bull, and they accepted it because that was the safest way to do it. So I was just fortunate that Red Bull came along and was willing to go the extra expense to make it as safe as we could. Now, Felix has already made 2 jumps, one from 73,000 and one from 97,000. So he's had the preliminary jumps. Now we're going to go in October. We're going to go for the high one for 120,000 feet. But we've done it in the safest manner we can do. We've done everything we can do to make it as safe as possible to make certain it gets back. So this has been approached in a methodical manner, in a manner that's as safe as we can make it. But I tell you that it's an unknown. It's still an extremely hostile area when you go into space like this. So it's not a slam dunk. There's risk involved in it. And Felix is highly trained. We have a great team of people that are on the team to make it safe as we can. And it's going to be an exciting event for the whole world to watch when we make the jump in October.
Good. And so it's planned for October. That was going to be my next question. So what do you think of what's your take on the capsule or gondola that Felix is using and his suit and all this stuff? What's your take on all of that?
Well, it's 52 years later. You know, we've gone into space. We've gone to the moon. We have a considerable improvement in the life support system, communications, all of the equipment that makes it work. I designed the life support system in the capsule. So in the last 52 years, there's been tremendous improvements made, and so now he's going up in a very sophisticated space capsule that is a remarkable bit of engineering to get as safe as we can get it.
All right, so you're not just along for the ride, so to speak. You really had a hand in making this thing happen with the overall planning and the design.
Oh, I've been working 4 years on the project, and I'm very much involved with it, with the balloon aspect of it, with the parachute aspect of it, with the pressure suit. All of those items are things that I'm an expert in and have a great deal of knowledge because of my experience and my association with it. So I've been very much involved with the planning and the testing of the whole system. And I'll be in communication with Felix. When he takes off, I'll be talking with him all the way up until he leaves the capsule. So I'm the communicator to him as he goes aloft.
So you're going to be his mission control, so to speak.
Yes, I am. I'm a capsule communicator. And we're going to do this jump at Roswell, New Mexico, by the way. And Roswell is really famous for this reason, Mick, is that is where the space age started. Mm-hmm. There was a man by the name of Dr. Robert Goddard who did the original work in liquid rockets, and he did it in New Mexico, at Roswell, New Mexico. So really the space age started at Roswell, New Mexico, and now we're doing a space jump from Roswell. So it's kind of a compliment to Dr. Goddard that we're using Roswell as a jump location.
Sort of a tip of the hat to the doctor.
This great scientist that he was a pioneer, the absolute pioneer in liquid rocketry. And all the people in the world, the Germans, the Russians, everybody, they studied everything that this guy wrote because he was a world authority on rockets back in the 1920s, 1930s.
Well, I don't know. Before speaking to you, I can sense your enthusiasm in helping Felix and being involved in this project. Isn't there just a little bit of sadness in you that your record might be broken?
Oh, no. I'm delighted to be a part of it. And by the way, you can follow the program at www.redbullstratos.com, and they have a very good website with a lot of video, and you can follow the whole program on that website. And it's going to be an exciting program, exciting thing that we're doing that the whole world can share in it, because the capsule, by the way, has 21 cameras on the capsule. Felix has 3 cameras on him. It's really a floating movie studio. And by the way, the BBC is doing a documentary of the whole program that will be coming out. They're doing it in conjunction with the National Geographic Society, and the movie will be coming out probably a month or so after the jump.
Fantastic. Yeah, I definitely. And plus, I think we're going to be able to see it live on the internet, aren't we?
Yeah, that was going to be my question.
Yes, that's so. You're able to watch it live.
Yeah, I believe, because we're on redbullstratos.com, and Stratos is spelled Stratos. Red Bull, it's sponsored by the company that makes the drink, so Red Bull Stratos. So the website, if you go to redbullstratos.com, you'll see the information on Joe there as well as Felix, and it covers everything. It covers the mission, the goal, and the timeline, the launch site. Everything is on that site. I would encourage all of our listeners to go and check that out. And all right, so there's no hint of remorse or sadness, like, oh, there goes my record, and et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, no.
Because I was willing to help out if I had to. I was going to say, hear me out. It's not October yet. I was going to say,
I'm really honored to be a part of it. It's an exciting project, and there's a good reason for doing it, and I'm really just delighted to be a part of it. It's been an exciting 4 years in preparation for this October.
And that's your story, and you're sticking to it. However, Joe, if you were to get me, say, like, security clearance to come in, I could, I'm just saying, if by happenstance I actually let a little bit of the helium out of the balloon, and it doesn't go quite as high.
Just say 101,000 somewhere.
101,000 feet, maybe.
Some change.
And then you would sit at your console and say, Felix, I'm sorry, it didn't happen. I guess I still hold the record. Now, of course, I would walk out of there talking like Mickey Mouse from inhaling all that helium, but I would do it for you, Joe, is what I'm saying. I would do it for you if you needed me to. I would jump on that grenade.
No, don't need that.
All right. Well, you know where to find me in case you change your mind.
What I have.
Well, you'd also have a lot of trouble because there's probably going to be about 300 people out there be watching everything you do. So I don't think we get away with it.
It's like that guy. What was his name? Gary Wells or something with Evel Knievel. And he accused Evel Knievel of moving his one of those ramps at the Caesar's Palace.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying I would do it for you, Joe, and I would do it for America, because that's the kind of guy I am. I no ill will towards Felix. I'm sure he's a really nice guy, but he's Austrian. I mean, come on. Do we really want to hand it over to a tiny little country like Austria? Seriously?
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
We have our team. We have people from all over the world that are on the team. It's a United Nations type of the event, and everybody's working together for the same goal. And it's a great team of people that are working toward the same goal, the same objective, and it's just great to work together with all different nationalities and people that have the same goal. And there's a good lesson in life on that. I think that you can work together. Different nationalities to accomplish a goal if you put your mind to it.
All right, Joe, you're a man's man. I I for the past 30 years have been caught up in the wussification of America. And I just, I need to be a stronger man. If I could just be half the man you are, Joe, I would be extremely happy. I'm off to a slow start. I went and got a chainsaw and a reciprocal saw and a whole new set of screwdrivers. What else can you do to help me to become a better man?
There's nothing you can do, Joe. Trust me.
I'm afraid that I can't help you.
Oh, man.
Straight turn down. Oh. Now, before Joe gets away, I do want to mention one thing. I grew up in Orlando, Joe, and going through your bio information, I noticed that sometime in the early 90s, they opened a Joe Kittinger Park on my old stomping grounds at Curry Ford Road and South Street. Is that true?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I used to do all the skywriting for Rosie's.
Oh, yeah. My grandmother, Terry Lamond, was the last of the Red Hot Mamas down there.
Certainly was.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was. And
I'm the one that did all the skywriting.
Yeah, I remember. In that biplane, I remember seeing that a lot when I was a kid.
I did that for 14 years.
That's awesome. But I just want to say that I did do some naughty things on the side of your park long before it was your park. It was just sort of a big empty field at that time, and I do want to apologize to you for that.
I wasn't around.
Oh, I was.
If he had been, he'd have kicked your ass.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have.
Just like Isaac Newton, He
Yeah.
would have done the same thing to you. He did Isaac Newton.
Did you fly the skyplane, the skywriting plane from Rosie's out of Herndon Airport?
Yes.
Yeah, Herndon.
Yes,
at that time, it's Orlando International or Orlando Executive Airport or something now, right?
Yeah, it's Orlando Executive.
Yeah.
But
it was Herndon.
Yeah, we had a hangar there, and we had 5 airplanes, and we flew every day. We flew 2 banners or skywriter every day, 365 days of a year. We were advertising for Church Street Station over Disney and Universal and SeaWorld in Orlando.
Mm-hmm. I could still see the Rosies in the sky, and I know exactly what he's talking about. So that's awesome.
Are you still flying, Joe?
Yes, still flying balloons and airplanes, both.
Wow.
Okay. What? Can you tell us a little bit about the ballooning, about going solo across the Atlantic and things like that? I mean, that too, I can't even fathom.
Well, I made 5 high-altitude flights in the Air Force, but every one of those was for a scientific reason. When I flew the Atlantic Ocean, that was just for the hell of it. That was just to set a record. No one had ever flown the ocean solo in a balloon, and so we came up with a plan to do it. And I had a great team of guys, and my wife, and we went to Caribou, Maine. I took off in the balloon. I flew for 3.5 days, and I landed in Italy. Wow. And I set 6 world records that are going to be on the record book for a long, long time. And the objective was, 1, to set a new world record, and 2 was to have a good time doing it, and we accomplished both of those things.
Well, good.
What describe the gondola that you were in? What was in your gondola? When did this particular flight take place? What year, and what did you have in the gondola for survival gear or food or whatnot?
Well, it was the 14th of September in 1984, and I landed on the 18th of September 1984. And of course, that was before they had GPS. That was before they had satellite telephones. Before
the wussification of America, Joe. Before we all became these weaklings, and needed our little gadgets to get from point A to point B. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I went out and bought a chainsaw. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, you should have bought just a power saw with your hand rather than a chainsaw. Chainsaws is going where you're saying. But anyway, we had a lot of fun.
I got to start somewhere, Joe.
Yeah. Come on, you got to give him a break. He's still scared to cross the Skyway.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
My gondola was also a boat. If I went down in the ocean, I had a boat I could pop around in.
Very cool.
I didn't want to do that because the ocean was very, very rough, and I'm a balloonist, not a sailor. So, but anyway, I took off, and for food, I took a lot of food that was dehydrated. I had water, and I was going to heat the water up and make, all this different food that was freeze-dried food. And that was my plan. But the problem is, the first time I lit the stove to heat up the water, the stove blew up and caught the gondola on fire. So I threw the stove overboard, and the rest of the time, the only thing I ate was I had 4 cans of spaghetti and meatballs, and it was frozen, and I would eat frozen spaghetti and meatballs for 4 days.
Wow.
Because my stove blew up. But so it wasn't a fun trip, and I flew at 22,000 feet, and it got down about minus 20 degrees below zero. So it was a tough trip, but it was exciting, and the winds kept going, and I ended up landing in Italy 3.5 days later. So, but it was a fun, exciting trip, and it'll be a record for a long, long time because it was a very, very small balloon, but it was a fun trip.
And I'm sure that the food was a lot better when you landed in Italy than what you had in the gondola.
It was.
Yeah, their spaghetti and meatballs are usually not frozen.
Right. Well, I was going to say freeze-dried. You're basically talking about like astronaut food, right? The kind of stuff that they took up.
Hot water. It took hot water to make it work. I didn't have any hot water.
So what's next? I mean, you're working on this project, and right now all your flying and your ballooning is just strictly recreational.
Yes. And my big challenge is going to be what another great adventure I'm going to have after this program is over.
You got to find something, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. I have to keep moving. I have to keep looking for excitement and adventure and contributing.
Yeah, this is oh man, and I'm afraid to drive over the bridge. This is
maybe,
come on, Joe.
Maybe that's it, Joe. Maybe you should really just try to make Mick more of a man.
Joe, that's your
is a
mission.
challenge.
Now that is a full-time
There you
job.
go. You
right
got to turn me into a man, Joe, because I'm just
I can help you. I can help you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm
Thank
not
you.
sure.
Here's what you do: throw the gasoline-operated chainsaw away and just use a plain handsaw. Start with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
He,
All right.
he came back to it, so I
Joe,
gotta think that's
Joe, I'm
that's
going to
serious.
embarrass myself even more. It's an electric chainsaw.
You got to get rid of it. You got to get rid of it. Just use a plain old saw.
All
That's called a knife.
All right.
I'm
all
not
right.
sure, but was that Joe Kittinger laughing at Mick just now?
Yeah,
laughing at him.
I'm looking at Joe's bile, and I'm like this wilting violet. Just like, are you kidding me? And I complain about having to mow the yard, and this guy was in the Hanoi Hilton, and he's flying over the Atlantic, and he jumps out at 102, 800,000 feet.
Yeah.
So it's I envy you, Joe. I want to be more like you, and I got to find the right path without having to go up to 102,000 feet.
I forgot to tell you that when I got shot down, it was my 483rd and a half combat mission, and I had 1,000 hours of combat when I got shot down. So I'd been over there for had 3 different tours, and it was a fascinating time in my life, and it was part of the journey that I had through life.
Yeah, definitely. Did you ever go back after the war?
No, I never did, but I would go back if I had the opportunity.
Yeah, I've seen some interviews with other vets who who have been back after being in a POW and whatnot, or even just those who have just fought and not been captured, and it was just it's very interesting to see how it affects people. So it'd be I don't know to see you walk into what was then the Hanoi Hilton.
Is it still there? Like, is that?
I don't know if the building is still there or not, but just in the area itself.
Yeah, I have mixed emotions about it. I would go back if I had the opportunity, but it's not on my bucket list.
Yeah. Well, what
is on your
Yeah,
bucket list?
Is there anything left?
What's left? guess nothing.
Joe, is there anything on your list?
Well, stay vertical.
You're doing a good job.
Every day above ground is a good day.
Every day is a good day.
So So have they pinpointed?
I've been blessed in my life. I've been on the earth for 84 years, and I can't think of a thing that I haven't done that I wasn't appreciative of. But I got to tell you, Mick, that when I did the research work in the Air Force, the only reason I could do it is because I had a great team of people. No one can accomplish something by themselves. It takes a team of people working together with the same goal. And I've been so fortunate because I had great people that I was working with. When I was flying airplanes, what made them go with the crew chiefs, all the maintenance people that worked their butts off to get those airplanes in perfect shape. So I've been the lucky person, the recipient of a lot of people working for a goal. And that's what it takes. And on the Stratos program, we have a great team of people working for a goal. Felix cannot do a thing without that team working for him and dedicated for him. So it takes a lot of people working together, and I've been so fortunate because the thing that I accomplished was because of some great people that I was working with.
Has Red Bull given you, Red Bull Stratos, have they given you a launch date in October?
No, it'll be in October. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this, Mick. The balloon is a very large balloon. It's 29 million cubic feet. It'll cover 40 acres if you laid it out.
Wow.
The balloon weighs almost 4,000 pounds, and it's extremely vulnerable. So it takes perfect weather conditions to launch it. So we have to have the absolute perfect conditions, no wind on the ground. It just has to be perfect conditions for this very, very extremely huge balloon that we have to get those altitudes. So the whole launch date is based upon the weather, and every time we've made 2 flights, and on all of them it took 3 attempts before we finally got off because the weather is so demanding that it has to be perfect. So all I can tell you is it's going to be in October, hopefully the first part of October. But if you'll stay tuned to the www Red Bull Stratos, you'll be able to keep up with where we are and where we're going and when we're going to do it.
Okay, so Red Bull Stratos, and then Stratos they spell as Stratos. So Red Bull, just like the drink, because they are the sponsor. RedBullStratos.com, and if you go there, you'll see all the information about Felix's mission and the history, and Joe's in there as well, and it talks about his involvement. And so basically you're saying it's one of those hurry up and wait situations where we're here, we're ready to go, but we just have to wait for the weather.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
Okay. And you're going
to all the equipment ready to go. It'll be just like Cape Canaveral. You know, they can't launch the space shuttles until they had perfect conditions all around the world.
Right.
Well, we just have to have perfect conditions here at Roswell. And just like on the space shuttles, they frequently cancel because something happened. Mm-hmm. Well, we might have to do the same thing. But it would be probably because of the weather if we have to not go when we're planning on it. And I hope that when the program's over, you give me a call and I'll give you a rundown how it went.
Yes, I was just going to say, if you could please be a guest on the show after the mission, we definitely would love to talk to you again.
I'd be delighted, Nick.
And my offer still stands. If you need me, just give me some clearance, and I'll just hang out. And I'll pretend I don't know you.
Use your electric chainsaw.
I can use my electric chainsaw. Yes, and you can deny ever talking to me, and you don't know me. And when I get caught, because obviously I will, I'll just blame it on the fact that I drank too much Red Bull.
They'll send you to the Hanoi Hilton.
Yeah, that'll really help me out a lot. Thanks a lot.
Anyways, Joe Kittinger, his book is Come Up and Get Me. It's his autobiography. It can be found on Amazon.com. My wife has already ordered it. Do you know if it's in a Kindle version where it can be downloaded?
Yes, it can. You can download it.
Okay, then that's what my wife is doing. Then she's going to download it so we can read it on the Kindle Fire. I'm old-fashioned, Joe. I like the paper and the ink. That's just how I roll. But
and the pictures are better, too.
Yeah.
The pictures are better.
Yeah.
And the other thing, Mick, I cannot sign your
Exactly.
Exactly. You can't sign a microchip, you know? So, all right. Well, I definitely want to get a paperback edition and keep that with my collection. But, again, it's been an honor to speak to you. We hope to, again, have you on in the future. And, please keep us in mind. And everybody go to joekittinger.com and pick up a copy of his book on Amazon. He will sign it for you, of course, the paper version. And redbullstratos.com to check out the mission with Felix. And Joe will be his command center and guiding him through the expedition. So, again, it's been a privilege having you on, sir. And if you would please, we'd love to have you on again in the future.
Well, thanks, Mick, for inviting me. I feel a lot of fun talking to you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to giving you a rundown.
Wonderful. Thank you again, sir. Have a good day.
Thanks, Colonel.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye now. Wow. It's just...
I probably feel like the least manly I've ever felt.
You know what I'm saying? Don't you feel totally emasculated?
I